Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I'm Lauren. I'm a wife and a new mom. I came up with the idea of this podcast after struggling to find mommy groups around me when my son was born. I wanted a community of mothers I heard so many of my friends talk about when they had their children. This podcast is to help mothers like me that want a community of mothers to connect with when they have their free time. Together with my usual guest, Taryn, and other mothers, we will share our experiences, not our advice, through motherhood, and hopefully get some tips from you, the listeners. So come join us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I am here with Taryn.
Hi, everyone.
So I know it's been nice that you've been back for a couple weeks with us.
Yes, it's so good to be back.
I know. We're going to have a tough time figuring out this when we go back to work.
Yep. But I'll take these summer sessions.
Yes.
I'll take them.
So, Taryn's here today, and we are going to give an update on my leg.
Yes. I want to hear all about what's been going on.
Yeah, and it's hard because I can't always remember everything that I've shared, but about a year ago, the beginning of August, my son was 3 months old, and I was walking down the stairs holding him, and I'm not really sure what happened. I don't know if I misstepped, if I slipped. That part's,
yeah.
I just remember not being on a step and not having anything to hold on to. If my son was in my other arm, I would have been able to just quickly grab on to the banister.
Right.
But of course I was not. So I braced my son, held him, and he was absolutely fine. I was able to hold him, but I was not able to brace myself at all because I used both hands. And I totally thought I was going to break an arm as I was falling.
Yeah.
Never in a million years did I think anything would happen anywhere else. I was like, okay, a broken arm, no problem.
Right. Easy peasy.
All right. And then I landed, and I knew I couldn't get up, but I was in such shock that I didn't know which part isn't working right now.
Yeah.
And my husband took my son right away and called 911. And I remember sitting there, I was like, oh, I broke my leg.
Oh my gosh.
And all I did, I couldn't look and I couldn't move. I could just kind of feel on my leg. And I was like, please don't be outside of my skin. Please don't be on the outside of my skin. Oh. And it wasn't. So I was like, okay, all right. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Although I would have maybe gotten better medical attention if
you had a bone protruding from your body.
Right. I always think about that. I'm like, I would have gotten, because I had if you want to go listen, I think it's like back at episode 3, I talk about it because I was supposed to launch this podcast and then I broke my leg.
Right.
So it's actually like a year since I started the podcast.
Oh my gosh. Happy anniversary.
I know. So it's just it was so different for me to, you have a 3-month-old. I was just about to go back to work. And first of all, it was already a struggle for me to think to go back to work. And then this happened, and I had never left my son for, maybe an hour.
Right.
And I knew at that point, I was like, I'm not coming home for days.
Right. And usually in that hour, he was sleeping.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it was just, it was a lot to all happen at once. And I remember after my husband got off the phone with 911, I told him, I was like, call your mother right now. She lives 3.5 hours away. I'm like, tell her to get in the car right now.
Yeah.
She needs to get here immediately, because I didn't know if my husband was going to have to stay with me at the hospital. Like everything was like very unclear about, obviously, because I didn't even know what exactly had happened.
Now, did the paramedics have to come into the house to get you?
Yeah, they came in,
gosh.
and we actually had to go out. I don't know if you have a basement, maybe you would understand this. I don't know if you don't have a basement. There's like a hatch area.
Yes, like the Bilko doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they had to carry me out of that because the stairs that I fell were into the basement. It's a finished basement, so but they could not carry me up the stairs because this makes me feel so bad. It took 6 people, first of all, to pick me up and carry me out because I had to be 100% stabilized. Like my head, my neck had to be 100% stabilized.
Safety.
My leg. They knew that my head and neck wasn't really an issue, but they were very concerned because I was clearly in shock. And I was like, okay, I'm like, this is what needs to happen. I'm like, and his bottle is here, and you need to bring this to the hospital.
They're like, this lady's crazy.
And like all I kept thinking of was like, told my husband, I'm like, you have to get my glasses because I wear contacts, and I knew that they were going to make me take out my contacts no matter what. And I can't see at all without my contacts. So I'm like trying to think of things. And the thing that I'm the most grateful for is that I had a bag, like a toiletry bag already packed. Like I just always have it packed.
Yeah.
So my husband could just grab that already has contacts in it, like because I have dailies, and it has all my toiletry stuff. Not that I got to use any of that stuff, just so you know.
Comforting to know it was there,
right? And I think like the biggest thing is like I always say like, oh, I broke my leg, which I did. But I didn't just break my leg, and I think sometimes that's the point that I don't always think about is I broke my ankle, I broke my leg in 2 spots, and later we found out I tore my meniscus.
Right.
And I like broke all my ribs on one side. But
whatever.
That was like an afterthought. They didn't even tell me until like 2 or 3 days later that happened because they were like, well, there's nothing we can do about that part. And I guess it's pretty common for people who have just had a baby to break their ribs actually in general, like even not do something.
Well, I guess because they're displaced when your stomach is growing.
Right. So they were just like, well, it might not have been from the fall. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was from the fall because I could lay on that side before. So, but with my meniscus, they knew I had torn it, but they didn't know if it had been from the fall because that can happen anytime and you can be absolutely fine. So they kind of they were like, well, we won't be able to tell if that's an issue until you can walk, which I couldn't walk for 6 weeks. And then you're in a boot for, I don't even know how long I was in that boot.
It felt like forever because you were so active beforehand. So to see you with some sort of device to help you move was like awful.
Right. And so when my son was born, there was about a week. I had a natural birth, so I didn't have a C-section or anything. But a week later, I was walking a mile with my son. And that was hard for me to only walk a mile with my son. So at that point, I was walking my son 2 to 3 times a day. So I was walking at least 8 to 9 miles a day just with my son. And then I would also run on top of it, including that day I had run, I don't even know how long, maybe 3 miles.
You're a distance runner, though. That's your thing.
Right. So, I mean, in a given day, I was doing 12 miles of movement a day. And then I broke my leg and ankle and whatever else. And I couldn't get up. You physically can't get up.
Yeah.
And it was hard enough. I mean, definitely one of the lowest points in my lifetime that, you can't help take care of your son. You can't get out of bed. You can't do anything. You're in so much pain. And I couldn't take the medicine. Once I got home from the hospital, I couldn't take the pain medicine anymore because I would have horrific nightmares about falling down the stairs all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And the outcomes always being different. So, I mean, it was already hard enough to sleep, to get comfortable to sleep, that I just couldn't do that on top of it. And at some point, like, I needed to be lucid to be able to be with my son because someone could be with me and I could at least hold my son. I was lucky that he wasn't crawling yet.
Yeah.
Walking, thank goodness. So that was good. And I went back to school. My maternity leave was easier to go back from because I couldn't take care of my son anyways.
Right.
So what difference did it make?
So it's almost a blessing in disguise that you had that transition.
Yeah.
Because I truly think if you didn't and you were able to be taking care of your son to your full capacity the whole summer, transitioning back, you would have slipped into depression.
Yeah, it was very hard. Yeah, I don't like to be away from my son for that long anyways. I'm getting better at it, but it's hard.
Just wait till he starts talking back to you. It'll be real easy to leave him then.
I know. But so went back and I was like, okay, it's only a few weeks at school that I have to do this and then I'll be up and walking. And so I was able to get up walking in a boot. Again, slow, not my best. And then eventually I guess I got out of the boot. I was in the boot though for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like it was until like winter.
Yeah,
winter
I feel
break
like
maybe.
I hope
midterms.
I hope it wasn't that long. It must have been, I think it was before Thanksgiving because I remember like trying to figure out.
Oh, yes. And you went to sneakers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And again, so during my pregnancy, I had to wear sneakers the whole time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, again, I'm just wearing sneakers again this year. So I think I was in it till about Thanksgiving. Then I was out of it. And in the meantime, I had to go to the doctor every single week.
Yeah.
Every single week I had to go to the doctor. And they would take an x-ray every single time. And every single time he would say, well, your ankle isn't really healing as well as I thought it would. And your leg's not healing as fast as I would want it to. So I would take all these supplements. And I went to my naturopath. And she gave me all this stuff. And I would take all this stuff. And there was still no change. But finally they let me just walk. And I was like, great, I'll be up running soon, probably like a month, no problem. And I don't think I realized how much damage was done.
Right.
And it was like, as soon as I was okay with my ankle, my leg would hurt. And then I'd do physical therapy in my leg, and then I would go back to my ankle. So I would wake up every morning at 5 a.m. I mean, this was as soon as my accident happened. I would have to get up at 5 a.m. to do my own physical therapy at home every single day for at least a half an hour, because then I'd have to get ready for work. And it was just so hard every day. I'm talking about Saturday and Sundays, waking up at 5 o'clock. And everyone's like, well, you could have just slept in.
Not with a kid.
Not with a kid, and not when your leg physically doesn't move until you start doing these stretches. It was starting... The first month, it was like starting all over every morning.
Yeah.
It was like my leg was so tight. My ankle, where the ankle meets your leg, that part is the hardest part. It's still the hardest part for me. There's so much scar tissue. There's still much damage in there. It's still swollen. It's a year later, my knee, my leg, my ankle, all swollen. And it's noticeably swollen. Maybe not to everyone, but if you looked at my legs, you know that they're swollen.
You could see the difference from one leg to the other.
Yeah, I don't have a definition in my by my ankle and leg. It's just one big fat blob that melds into each other. But I would say, so then my doctor actually left, my surgeon that I had. So I'd known this guy for 4 months, knew everything about him. We met once a week, every day. Every week for 4 months, and then he left to take a different job in another state. So I started with a new doctor, and then they started getting concerned about my knee. And they were like, well, maybe you won't need surgery. Let's try running. So now it's January.
With great running conditions.
Right, and I'm nervous already. So one of the other things is the first year, I cannot fall. And I know that sounds like a silly thing, but I physically was not allowed to fall. I'm not physically allowed to twist my ankle. I can't do any of those things. Like, if those things happen, that backtracks me 6 months. I'm back to just who knows what.
Thank you.
So I had to be really careful. So running outside was not necessarily an option. So I started running on the treadmill. And then I was like, okay, we got like one warm day where it was like 50 degrees outside. I'm like, so I'm going to run outside. So fine. So I ran outside and I felt great. And I was like, awesome. I ran. Yeah. And then the next day I went to go walk my son and I had the worst pain in my knee. It was so horrible. And the doctor said, he's like, you'll have horrible pain doing something totally random and you'll need surgery then. So I called my doctor and I said, okay. I'm like, I guess I need the knee surgery. So I'm with this new doctor. I have to have another surgery. He's like, oh, but it's a quick outpatient procedure. No problem. And I remember my husband being like, you can have it any day you want, just not this one day.
I remember that, not this one day. This one day is booked.
Right. What is the one day that they could only do it? That day. Or I had to wait another month. And I couldn't wait another month. So Taryn, thankfully, stepped in.
Yes, I did.
And she was able to pick me up. My husband was able to drop me off. We were able to work that out. And my mother-in-law came to stay with our child so that he was watched. And my husband dropped me off. And then it was like a 10-minute surgery, first of all. A procedure.
Right. Yeah, it was not very long because by the time I got there, they were like, oh, she's already in the recovery room.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay.
So I got my knee was swollen for like a day. It bothered me. And then I was able to walk. And they were like 6 weeks. And
you also took off like 2 days for knee surgery.
I took a half day off. And then the next day I took off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 1.5 days.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Because I couldn't take any more days because, first of all, it's February. My child kept getting sick.
Yep.
And, I didn't know how many more of these procedures, surgeries I was going to need to take. I had already had to take so many half days for all my other doctor's appointments and things like that. So I was just trying to minimize everything.
Yeah.
So surgery's done. I wait the 6 weeks. I go back. He says, okay, try running. So I try to start running. And at this point, I'm only worried about my knee. Yep. Well, guess what? That's not what the issue was. It was 100% my ankle.
Oh, no.
So, and it's kind of been the same cycle. It's like, oh, your knee hurts? Okay, well, that's today. Tomorrow, your ankle is going to hurt. Oh, nope, now it's your leg.
Oh, my gosh.
And the weird part to me, the biggest weird part, I don't know if that's but that's okay. It's odd that I never had symptoms when it was cold, when it was raining, or anything like that.
Which happens a lot when you break a bone.
Right. And now this summer, I am experiencing it. And I don't really, I remember someone was like, just take an Advil or something. I'm like, it's not a pain that's going to like, something's going to take it away. Yeah. Like there is no like magical drug. Like,
and I'm not taking Advil because it's humid.
Right. And it's not. Like, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I can predict the weather with it. It's hurting when the weather is happening. So, like, yesterday we had a thunderstorm. I can pinpoint the part in my bone that broke. And there's 2 parts that broke in my leg. And there's no rhyme or reason. Yep. Like, sometimes it's one part. Sometimes it's both parts. Sometimes it's just my ankle. Sometimes it's all 3 of them all together. And I was like, and there's nothing... I do find if I'm more active, it's worse.
Right.
So that's tough. And I just went to the doctor like a few weeks ago, and he was like, okay, well, you're making great progress. I am running. I run.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I run 3 times a week, not to the speed I want to. And definitely,
please, you could probably run as fast as me.
And definitely not to the distance I want. The max I've done, I think, is 40 minutes. And what's weird is going slower is harder for me.
I've heard that from a lot of people who have knee issues, that they do better when they go faster.
Yeah, it's easier for me to go faster. My lungs don't feel that way. But
they'll get there.
But they're getting there. They're getting good summer training. So the cooler it is, the better it gets. But my goal is by the end of this year is to be able to run for 60 minutes or be able to run a 10K.
That's a great goal.
Right. I haven't run a race that's a 5K, but during my runs, I have run a 5K a few times. So that's good. I think the hardest part is not knowing which part is going to hurt that day. And I do have to I have to run on completely flat ground to the best of my ability.
Good thing you live on a hill.
Right. So I have to travel somewhere to run all the time. That's going to be for a while. And eventually walking.
I self-prescribed running on flat ground because I hate running.
Right.
So if I'm going to run, it's going to be flat.
Right. And I think like right now, when I first started to run, it was so hard that my ankle was the hardest part. Breaking up that cartilage was so hard. I physically could not get like a swooping motion, like a full.
Ooh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Because then your entire gait is compromised. So when you run, other issues could come up because of it.
And when you think about it, when you run, you typically are landing on the same part of your foot, or at least trying to. I have to concentrate on every single step to do that because my legs don't weigh the same amount. They're not technically, things are not technically in the same spot. So I had told my doctor, I was like freaking out. I was like, I cannot lose weight. I'm like, I weigh myself all the time. I'm like, I am stuck at this one weight. And the doctor was like, yeah. He's like, because your left leg physically weighs more than your right leg. Huh. He's like, and it's going to be like that for years.
Is that because of fluid retention?
The fluid retention. And it's still swollen. Like, it's still swollen. So that is still a thing. And it can be anywhere between 2 and 5 pounds heavier than my other leg.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I'd be dragging that leg behind me.
I know. And I don't always feel it, but sometimes I feel it. When I run, I can feel that my left leg is heavier and I have to concentrate more. I have to push off harder when I run, and I have to pick up that leg harder.
It's like a mental workout too.
Right. So the whole time, I use this app. It's called Aptiv, and they have like running programs in there. And I physically need to have someone saying the same stuff over and over again, telling me like, don't forget about your feet. Don't forget about this, because there's so much that I have to think about still.
Yeah.
And I've been running since March. And it's July. So 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. And I still have to think about every single step that I'm taking.
That's exhausting.
Yeah. And one of the other things I figured out this summer is that I have not worn my real clothes in 2 years. So
no shame in that.
The year I got pregnant, I did not fit into my clothes the second week I found out I was pregnant.
Yep.
I was so bloated. My upper half grew at very quickly. So I outgrew everything in 2 weeks. And I'm talking like I found out I was pregnant, like haven't even been to the doctor to confirm my pregnancy, and I'm not in the same clothes. So I didn't wear my clothes that whole year, except for a few like cardigan, like sweater, I don't know what you call
like
those.
Cover-ups.
Yeah.
Like,
and then last year, I never lost the weight that I had put on from my pregnancy, and I couldn't lose it because I couldn't work out. And so I just never fit into anything. And I think like maybe May, June, I started to fit into some of the stuff.
Yeah.
But I've been wearing the same maternity stuff for 2 years.
No one notices if it makes you feel any better.
Right. No one's caring. No one cares what I wear. And so I went to go like pull something out of my closet, and it was like dusty. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm going to have to like wash all my clothes. So I am literally washing every single thing that I own because it's so dusty. I have pants that I've never worn, and I'm like, I have to wash them because I'm like, I can't even wear them. They're so dusty. And I never thought about that.
Right.
Like, you know, like certain sweaters that I have like folded up in my closet, like you pull stuff down and stuff. So those have moved around a little bit. But my pants, like my blouses, my dresses, I didn't wear dresses. I don't think I wore a dress at all this school year without leggings because I was so self-conscious about my legs and the scars. I would say they're less noticeable now, but not my knee scars, but and not the inside of my ankle. So no, they are still just as
kidding.
They're just as noticeable. But I think this summer I've just gotten over it. Like I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be part of who you are the rest of your life. Embrace it. And
I think what I thought is my mother-in-law is a nurse, and I was like, they'll fade, right? And she's like, yeah, they'll fade. Don't worry about it. And they're not really fading, but that's okay. I do believe that eventually they might fade.
Yeah.
I don't know the ones on my knees though, because that was February. So we'll see next February if they're gone.
Right.
But so one of my scars, I know this sounds weird, but you have to like work at it so that the scar tissue separates.
Oh, I remember having to do that after a few surgeries. Yep.
Yeah. So the one by my ankle, I can't do that with because that's also where the screw is. That's the rod that's in my leg. So I physically, like if you like tap that spot, it hurts.
Ooh.
So the doctor's like, okay, so in like a year or two, he's like, then you'll start working on that. I was like, what? I'm like, a year or two? That's when we're going to start working on that? He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. He's like, you'll know when it's time. I was like,
but will I?
I'm like, will the swelling be gone? Because I really want to wear my pants, and a lot of them are like skinny jeans or at least like tapered, and they didn't fit before. So, I just want to wear pants again that are normal. I know.
Fancy pants.
Right. Yeah. And I just don't want to have to buy all new clothes, you know, just so that one leg fits in. At this point, I'm just going to have to cut one of the sides and just be done with it because
that's a good idea.
If I'm not going to wear it, if I can't wear the pants anyways, I might as well just cut them on the side.
And I bet you could even like put a few stitches in so that
it wouldn't.
Yeah, it won't
hold.
fray. Right. It'll still be strong enough for you to wear, and it's going to be down by your ankle. No one's going to notice.
Right. So, and if that doesn't work, then I'm going to have to find all the pants that have zippers at the bottom and just unzipper on one side, because then people will really notice that one side is swollen.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but that's it. That's really the update. Oh, a lot of people ask me about what it's like going down the stairs holding my son. It's still petrifying. I always wear sneakers, no matter what. I always carry him on one side and hold onto the banister with the other side. I'm actually not, depending on the day, I can't always walk 1 foot to each step. Sometimes I have to do two meet my feet to one step. Sundays is hardest. Sunday afternoons are hardest because that's when it happened, which is also very hard on me because my son was born on a Sunday afternoon, and that was always my memory of Sundays. And now a lot of times my memory is falling down the stairs, especially now. I'm not going to be here. We're recording this before the actual year anniversary is, but I actually won't be here the weekend that it happened last year. So I think that will help a little bit too. Mm-hmm. It doesn't bother me as much. I'm super careful always on the stairs, every stair. I stop, I think about it. I never take it for granted that I can walk down the stairs.
Which is things you don't think of until it happens.
Right. And all my friends, oh my gosh, they must tell me all the time, oh my gosh, every time I walk down the stairs, I make sure I'm holding on the banister when I'm holding my kid. So,
or I yell at my kids to hold on to the banister when they're not, just in case.
I know. I think it'll be very nerve-wracking when my son starts to walk down the stairs. That will be, I don't know if I will... I don't want to say I have to get over it because that's not, you just have to move on.
Or figure out a way to acclimate it into your life so that it's not holding him back, but that you're also not re-traumatized every time he's near a flight of stairs.
Right. And I think, I don't ignore going down the stairs. Like I don't avoid doing it.
I'm just going to stay up here. I'm good.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I go on all floors of our house every single day. So it's hard, but it's part of the recovery process. Like you can't, just because something bad happened doesn't mean you can't do it again.
Right.
So you don't know what's going to happen. So I try. It's not easy, but you have to get through it. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, do you have any other questions?
No, but if anyone has suggestions for how to make the pants work if the swelling doesn't go down, that would be great because clearly we're not seamstresses here. So we're like, just cut one side. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, that would be great. So if anyone has any suggestions, that would be great. You can, we're on Instagram, Facebook, the internet. At Mommy Escape Time. So we'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much, Taryn, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.